tools that you'll need, we have a jigsaw with a metal cutting blade. We have a drill bit, 5/16 with a bevel on the top for drilling the pan out for our screws that we'll talk about later. Have a drill, tape measure. You'll have your door frame, but we actually have, for the sake of the video, just a little piece of exterior jamb, something to mark with, and then a speed square. So what we'll do is we'll start on your door jamb by pulling out the weather strip just on the bottom portion. Doesn't have to all be removed. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay our frame over here. Now it's very important that you don't come too far in, because then your threshold could be too short. That's a common mistake to make. What we want to do is we want to take this surface, this longer surface, we call it the rabbited portion of the jamb, and line it up flush with this outside. So once you line that up and you have your threshold centered to front to back, just depending on what your subfloor situation is, you want to lay that out what best fits your needs. We want to come in and we'll want to mark here, and then we'll want to come in on the back side and mark here. And then since this is a double saddle threshold, since it has a bevel, we'll use a speed square to finish out our mark. Now from there, we're going to take our jigsaw, be sure that you have eye protection, cutting metal, and we're going to cut this line. You'll notice right here there's a little bit of extra resistance. Notice there's a little extra resistance there. That's because our saddle thresholds have extra fins on the inside for support when folks step on that in the field. And then we'll come in from the end and finish our cut. So that's our first notch. Now, in order to get the correct length on the threshold, we're going to see here how that fits nicely in there. We would take a silicone or caulk or Lexel and caulk that joint in order to prevent water infiltration. So we're going to call this the rabbited portion of our jamb. That's where our door actually sits. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to measure from here, from this point, to the same point on the other side of the jamb. And then you're going to do that up close to the top of the door in the header portion. And so this dimension from here to the inside of the other side will need to be the same as you'll cut your threshold from this dimension here, which is inside here, to the other dimension of the same dimension on the other side. That'll give you the correct dimension to be able to square your door up. Now, as far as some thresholds will come with holes pre-drilled. If they do, you'll just want to make sure as you cut that end off, you won't have a lot of play, but just make sure you keep your holes centered. This particular one does not have holes drilled. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure our threshold. This one I already know is 72.5 inches for the inside jamb of a double 6-foot door. So we're going to take 72.5 inches and we're going to put our holes on 10-inch centers. So we're going to take 72.5 and divide that by 10. It's going to give us roughly 7 spaces. So if we have 7 spaces, that's going to be 6 fasteners. So we're going to measure and we're going to lay out half of 72.5, which would be 36.25. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our 10-inch spacers. We're going to lay our tape measure here, and we're going to put that on 30 inches. And we're going to measure out 5 inches to each side. So it'll be 25 over here, 35 over here, and then we'll just come back to 15 and 5. So that's going to give us 10-inch spaces. So you could lay that out however you want. I just recommend 8 to 10-inch centers. We're going to take our 5/16, and you may use a different bit depending on what type fastener you use, depending on what type of subfloor you have. In this particular case, we're using just about 1.25 inch coarse thread zinc screw to fasten this into a wood substrate. So what we did is we took a drill bit that was roughly the same diameter as the head of our screw. That way our screw doesn't stick up too much and become a trip hazard. So what we'll do is we'll get in the center, get a solid surface behind us, and we'll slowly drill. We're not really looking to go all the way through. We may want to go all the way through in just a small portion, and then we'll just drop our screw head down inside that hole. You may even want to get a smaller bit and just pilot your hole on through. That way you don't go through and have a little accident with a bigger bit, because then your screw is going to go all the way through. But you want that little beveled surface inside so that your screw head sits flush right with the top of this threshold.